Cool. Here we go. Hey guys.
Hey, good afternoon on this gloomy, rainy day.
Yeah, it's
Son, son, I'm on the broadcast. I'm live.
that's awesome. I actually just closed my windows
Apparently,
because
the landscaper's not coming by today, so
that's
You know,
definitely a struggle. Yeah.
that's part of my
Um,
graphic design thesis, by the way.
I'm
yeah.
your wife's paging you. I gotta fix the lighting. This is a good start.
This
Awesome,
is
awesome beginning.
awesome.
So, well, we're talking product. I was going to ask you, Nathan. Yesterday we fell off the question that I asked you, which frankly I can't even recall right now, but I know I cut you off. Uh, I was wondering how you define, like, how you clarify when you come up to a problem, if that problem's going to, like, stop you in its way, or are you going to, like, pursue it? Like, at what point do you decide to continue? What helps you decide to continue?
That's interesting. I mean, and it's definitely that's definitely a constant challenge. Like, and I've had this challenge recently at High Rise, and there's some examples of this that happened with Draft, which is this writing software I created. There was this just even recently, a real recent example of High Rise. So like we have email threading. Going on in High-Rise, and so to kind of give you even more context about it, like High-Rise has always kind of been a great place to kind of forward all your emails into, and it's supposed to help track who you've talked to,
Okay.
and kind of do it in a collaborative way. But the way it was doing it, like you'd forward an email in, and then if you forwarded another email in, there was no type of kind of chaining. There was no kind of threading, right? And it's kind of something I think we expect these days in a tool like Gmail, right? When you have that conversation view in Gmail, or if you use Mail.app, like modern email tools will show you an email thread, like a conversation you're having with someone. And Highrise wasn't providing that. If you clicked into an email, you'd have to kind of see the whole ugly email to kind of get that conversation. We weren't doing anything kind of nice with the email. And so I started looking at this, and I was like, okay, we can do a better job of this. And so I started doing some, collecting the emails kind of in a chain, in a thread, and we were doing something on the back end to kind of like, bring these things together. And then, so how do you make them look pretty? How do you hide all the old cruft of an email, right? When you look at an email and you look at the source of an email, it's like that whole old chain, right? And you see all the little brackets, or you see
Right.
a lot of lines, like here's the thread. And I got caught into this thing where I'm like, okay, I have an easy way of figuring this out, and I removed it. And then, I cleaned up these emails. I put it in a production. We were fooling with it. And then immediately, I thought I did a great job. And then immediately, people are like, whoa, no, this is. Now it's like, I don't forward every email in. I'm missing data. You've hidden too much, because I took this really naive approach to it. I ended up then having to research all of this like stuff that Gmail does. Gmail has like all this research about it, and this ended up becoming this crazy rabbit hole of problems. And I don't know. So like you bring up a really good struggle that like I go through. Like when do I stop? When do I give up?
Mhm.
I don't know. It's tough. I don't know if I have the greatest answer. Like in this particular example, I feel like a lot of experience. Like an anecdote from my past was like I used to suck at math. Like I got into this algebra class, this advanced algebra class, even my freshman year in high school. I had no idea how to even do any pre-algebra, and I was so lost. Went to the teacher, asked him if I could, if he could place me out of the class, transfer me. And he said, just keep coming after school. Like, come hang out with me and we'll work on this. And I did. And like, that how this is going to work, right? A young student is going to figure this stuff out eventually if they keep working on it. And I don't know, it's that kind of thing. Like, I knew I would eventually figure out this threading thing. So I made sure it wasn't going to like hurt all of our other projects. Like I definitely had to keep making sure other stuff was going out the door. Jason and I have talked in the past about keeping these schedules and momentum going in our projects. I like to call them train schedules after a company that kind of implemented these that I like to talk about. And so I made sure we were still getting stuff out the door, but on the side, I was also making sure, like, I know I can accomplish this threading thing, even if it involves some crazy research. So it's, I don't know, my thing is I usually don't give up until I'm like, I physically can't do it. But I might have to withdraw some of my attention to make sure I haven't dropped the ball on all of these other things. But having a schedule keeps making sure it doesn't consume me. So it's like I don't have to stop because it's not going to like kill everything else that we're doing. So that's kind of my long answer on dealing with stuff like that.
Right.
What we do is, it's not really stop or start. It's start and then negotiate. So something that we'll try is, there'll be a hard problem we're trying to solve, just something we can't quite get right or whatever. And then often we'll be like, well, do we actually need to solve the full problem, or is there a variation on the problem we can solve quickly and get 80%, 90% of the way there, versus trying to brute force all the way through or be discouraged completely. So we'll kind of trade back and forth some variations on an idea and see if maybe there's just something simpler we can be doing here that's actually not a problem at all, or maybe the thing that's holding us up really doesn't matter anyway. So I think it's really important it's very easy to get to be caught by the pull of a drain, right? So like you're sort of circling this drain, and the only way out is to go down, but sometimes you can just like break the orbit and be like, you know what? We don't actually need to go through this whole thing. Maybe we can just take one loop around and fix most of it, and then break free, and then just not get sucked into this hole. It's really easy to, when your head's down, you're like, we got to solve this, and you often don't have a chance or even think to reevaluate the thing again and go, do we really need to do this? So that's something I think is really important, is to stop yourself. If you find yourself tangling with something for a day or two or a couple days or 3 days, like, just step back and go, do I know why I'm solving this anyway? Is it worth solving? And is there a different can I restate the problem so it's actually a different problem?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the perfect segue for an example that I wanted to talk about, because the other side is that sometimes the answer is literally right in front of you and you don't even see it unless you step away, right? So in our case, and that the interesting thing is, like, you guys and I are talking about completely different worlds. You live in a super high-tech kind of thing, and I live in a print world, and of course my example is going to be completely different than what you guys are talking about. But I think that the real I think benefit from my answer is going to be not so much the subject or the category that we're in, but the reality that I just pointed out, that sometimes the answer is literally sitting right in front of you, and all you need is just to take a break. So let me tell you a real quick story. One of the projects that we've done recently that got us a lot of play was this 4 or 5 year program we did for rebranding Corbis. And I mean, this could be an extremely long discussion just based on that, but all the stuff we did for Corbis almost didn't live because the materials that we had created for them were a very large format piece that weighed a lot and had to be shipped all over the world. And because of its size, it was extremely expensive to produce. And so we were trying to manage the product to fit a certain budget for production, because if it went over that budget, it was going to die. Now, one of the things that almost killed it was the packaging for this device. And because of the size of the piece and where it was going to go to, it was coming out to be about $2.50 to $3 a piece to produce it. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you multiply that, by tens of thousands, it adds up. So the problem we were struggling with is, what are we going to do, man? We either have to change this whole thing, or we have to get a bigger budget, or we have to, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. We didn't want to change the piece, and we didn't have a bigger budget. But then we just stood back because we couldn't solve the problem, and we realized, you know what, man? We're going to be shipping all this stuff using FedEx. Check. FedEx gives you free boxes. Check. Right? So we just, out of the blues, asked ourselves, what if we asked FedEx if they would print custom boxes for us? since they're giving us the boxes anyway. And the worst that could happen was they'll say no, right? Well, they said yes, and that saved the project, and we got custom boxes that we shipped the piece all over the world using FedEx. They were an extremely helpful partner with us. And we turned their regular triangle boxes, and I have a sample to show you, into this like custom Corbis box that we did for them, right? And then we also did these square versions that they also supplied for Corbis, and it became an unbelievable partnership because we exclusively used FedEx to ship this material all over the world. The other thing that really helped was that we touched on this, I think, on the first chat, is how we try to focus on being as relevant to the strategy as possible. And knowing that we were targeting photographers and addressing art by photographers, we wanted to respect the art form as best as possible. And after one or two of the large format crops that I just showed you, we realized that rolling them up and putting them in a tube wasn't the ideal thing. So we then approached FedEx to do the flat versions and represent more of a portfolio, which is what a photographer does. So they simply produced these pieces for us, which were a little portfolio case, also made out of cardboard, and then produced this final one here that we did, which made out of a corrugated plastic cardboard. But anyway, so I think my example that I'm showing you is that we just didn't want to give up on trying to find a solution and realize that it was literally sitting in front of us. The same thing happened to us with 5-inch, which I can go later if it becomes relevant. But that was one of the things that, you know, you kind of have to like cleanse your mind, right? And just think it through a little bit.
Yeah, and you got to sometimes, I mean, you also have to weigh the sort of importance of the thing. I think I've run into a lot of people who have treated every problem as high top priority and must break through on all problems. And some problems you just say, not worth it, not worth solving.
Absolutely.
What's the really important thing here, and like nailing that.
Yeah.
And so, some things you can move and some things are movable depending. You know, you just got to take them all one by one. But I do think it's important at a certain point to at least question, and early actually.
Yeah.
Don't let yourself waste a week or 2 weeks digging. Like, step back and go, are we solving the right thing? Do we know why we're solving this? Are there alternatives? Is there another version of this we could solve simpler, faster, easier? Can we get 90% of the way there by tomorrow and then we're free? Like, you just got to, and sometimes the answer might be no, we have to solve it this way, and then you go back down, but at least you're constantly asking yourself the question. Otherwise, you can waste weeks of work, easy, and that starts to deep into morale too. If you spend weeks and weeks on something, and then at the end you question and go, man, we could have saved 2 or 3 weeks on this.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
You know, we also have the added well, not the added pressure, because you have a different pressure in your end because you guys do it for yourselves. We have to do it for someone else. So sometimes when that answer is expected and we don't come up with it, it's kind of like it builds a little bit of tension. But the other problem is, you touched on this yesterday, I believe, is that the calculation of what is this problem going to affect and how many people, and is it really worth saving? Sometimes, like you pointed out, people trying to hack the account by creating a free account, you just said, you know, the hell with it. I'm not going to spend time fixing that. Not too many people are going to do it, and so I'm not going to spend time trying to fix a problem that really isn't a problem in the bigger picture, right?
That's actually really a really good point, which is the first step is this even a problem at all?
Exactly.
You know, like, because is it even worth dealing with at all? So that's another important thing.
Yeah. Our example of the same thing that you discussed is a little bit different, but touches on the same emotion, and that is that sometimes a client will ask us to change something in a piece of communication or a design or whatever, thinking that, I hate this phrase when a client tells me, is that they won't get it. If you get it, they'll get it, because you're not smarter than anybody else, in my view. But I always wonder where that question or where that concern comes from. Is it really a problem, or is it something that's a personal preference? So we try and talk it through and massage it out and say, hey, you know, this really isn't a problem, and if a few people don't get it, that's okay, because creating something that everyone gets isn't necessarily good either, in my view, anyway.
Sure. Let's bring this back to something that's happening right now, right? With our stuff, or not even this topic, but any topic. Nathan, what's going on like right now? What are you guys working on or struggling with, or what's happening?
So something that's, I mean, there's always a lot of stuff on my mind. It's something that I just today, I put out a email newsletter to all high-rise account owners about the stuff that we just released. And something I always kind of debate and argue with myself a little bit in my head is how personal do I make these letters? Like I used to, running businesses, I used to always kind of be very, I don't know, professional, whatever that hell that even means, but like kind of cold, distant. Even if I'm running a company of two people, I make it sound like it's we are doing this, and we're a lot of people, whatever. But these days, I've really gotten into this flow of making them personal, and I've debated doing this. So at the top of a lot of emails these days, the last couple that have gone out, I put pictures of my daughter and me holding her, me hanging out with her. This last one that I sent out today had a picture, an animated GIF of her playing with the dog. And I've debated doing this, obviously, because it's not the type of thing maybe a typical business would do. But so I struggle with this a little bit. There's an interesting thing though I did recently that I looked at there's some tools out there to kind of analyze your Twitter followers, and I was looking at people who kind of follow me on Twitter, and it dawned on me, I was looking at it basically does like a data analysis on all the user profiles of people who follow you on Twitter, and shows you like what's in their profile, and a huge thing kind of came out at me when I was looking at kind of keywords, like it breaks out like what are some popular keywords that are in the profile, and it was like off the charts compared to, like, there's a lot of programmers following me, that's expected, a lot of entrepreneurs, I guess that's expected, but then the third top one after that was dads. All these people had the word dad in their profiles, and it was just like, there's a lot of freaking parents that are following me, and it's just like, it's not all parents, but like, why not share then a little bit more about that side of my life, like that obviously I'm going through, and we can kind of, I don't know, have a little bit of a discussion about that, like, anyway. So I get replies now on some of these emails about, family and work, and I don't know. I still debate about going there, but I've been enjoying doing it, and I don't think it's hurting now. But yeah, what do you think? Do you have any opinions on that? And how have you kind of involved getting too personal, or getting personal when you kind of market yourself or deal with clients, or sharing stuff about yourself?
Yeah, it's funny. I got the newsletter today. And I saw that baby with a dog or something, right?
Yep.
That wasn't your kid, right?
That's Ashton,
that was? Okay.
With our dog. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, it was interesting because I saw that, and like, it felt warm. It felt warmer. Like somebody was writing this. I liked it. We did something here recently. Actually, maybe earlier this year. We sent out roughly a monthly newsletter to our customers, email newsletter, and it used to be written from the voice of the company. Like the company wrote it, which meant the company the company doesn't have a tone because the company doesn't write, people write, and so we're just kind of we had to make this persona almost of the company, and then I'm like, you know what? Andrea, who's our office manager, is such a fantastic writer. She's got a great sense of humor. Everybody here loves the things that she writes. I'm like, why don't we make this from Andrea's desk, basically? Like, Andrea should write the newsletter, and she should sign it every month, and it should be from her. That's who's communicating. A person is communicating to our customers rather than a business is communicating to our customers. And once we did that, I feel like the newsletter got so much better. And it's not like she's sharing personal stuff about her or anybody here necessarily. It's just that a person with a personality, with a writing style, is writing and signing it from them versus like from the team at Basecamp. Like, from the team at Basecamp is bullshit, because from the team at Basecamp does not write the newsletter. Right. She writes the newsletter. Right. Yeah. Somebody writes it. So have her sign it. And I don't have any data on this, but it feels like the right thing to do.
Man, you don't need
it data. Feels like somebody's communicating it, and so I like that.
You don't need data.
And
that's the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the right thing. It's also it harkens back to like for me for a time when newsletters were written like old-timey newsletters were written by like a person and they were like proud of it and they said like from whoever whatever and
Well, I also think it just paints a wonderful personality for the new way of doing business today. I mean, how many times have you had to call Comcast or AT&T or whatever phone company you use? I mean, it's truly disgusting the way they handle the public. It's almost like they don't even call themselves. They have no clue. To be honest with you, every time I hear that this call is being recorded for quality assurance, I throw up in my mouth. It's just so disgusting. I think this body language and tone, as you put it, she doesn't even have to talk about herself. It's how you speak, how you address other people with a level of respect. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
And I think it also touches on something you brought up maybe like on Tuesday, Carlos, about surprising people. It's not the norm. It's not, getting an email from Andrea's desk is not the norm of these newsletters.
No.
Having a picture of a baby at the top is not the norm. And so I like it because it surprises people a little bit.
Yeah.
And that little bit of surprise, makes people remember a little bit more about Highrise or Basecamp or whatever we're doing. So yeah, I like it.
I think the other thing that it does is it softens the blow. I mean, the very existence of a newsletter is already high tech in the sense that it's not a personal note, it's not a letter, it's not a face-to-face communication. It's a digital, non-existing, code-based thing that went through a wire and showed up on a glass that's facing you that you happen to call a computer. So it's already got a bad rep. You know what I mean? And not to mention that you get 1,000 junk emails all day long, and a newsletter, whether you're expecting it or not, goes into that realm, that world. So to be able to soften that blow and say a nice human hello is just a great experience. It really separates you from everybody else.
Yeah. Well, talking about writing, so Jason, you had mentioned to me offline, off this topic, but like about writing and I guess picking channels. I mean, you want to talk about that? Kind of the challenge of, I don't know, evangelizing marketing, kind of picking channels to kind of talk through with your writing.
Yeah, sure. So we're beginning to start talking about Basecamp 3, which is the new version of Basecamp we're working on, and I've been wondering where to talk about it. We have a blog, Signal versus Noise, 100,000 plus readers. The thing we've been writing on for 15 years. And I just had this thought that maybe I should try writing this stuff about before Basecamp's release somewhere else, just to experiment with another publishing platform, to experiment with like building an audience again, to see what happens when I post on more of a social platform that has built-in readership anyway. Like, what happens? I just want to know what happens. Like, I don't know. Like, is it good or bad? I don't even know. But what I do know is I don't know. That's what I know. I know I don't know what's. And so I just decided, like, I'm going to publish this on Medium. So I published this first article on Medium. I tweeted it out. But what I saw instantly, which was really interesting, was a ton more people tweeted the article out than I've ever seen from an SVN post, our Signal versus Noise post. The fact is that, like, the Medium network encourages people to share content in ways that our blog does not. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I feel like it got out to more people. I've had about 21,000 views on that article already, which is in 2 days, which is a huge number, relatively very, very large number for hardly any SVN post. Some SVN posts get way more than that, but they've had a lot more time to get there. Mm-hmm. And I can't help but think that part of this is because the network encourages spreading the article. And I don't know this for a fact. I could have posted it in both places. I could have seen what the traffic did in both places, and this is something I'm going to try with the future posts. I'm going to post it in both places and not say a thing. I don't even want to say a thing. I'm not going to put it on Twitter. I'm just going to post it and see what happens if it takes on a life of its own. Anyway, point is that it's very easy to get stuck in patterns and feel like what you've already got is the best way to do things. And I don't know if posting on Medium is going to take traffic away from our blog, and it doesn't even matter if it takes away from our blog, if it picks up somewhere else and it still references us. What I'm starting to realize or think is that it's best to be in as many channels as you can be and get the word out to as many people as you can in the ways that people are comfortable receiving it. Even if you post the same thing in 5 places, who cares? What matters is that people are receiving it. And I know there's a lot of people who aren't receiving stuff on our blog because they don't follow our blog, but they are interested in what we have to say. So why don't I post it where they're reading or where they're paying attention to, and and then see what happens. So that's what we're doing now.
I think the observation I make from what you said is the key. In essence, follow the strategy. Your strategy is to get the thing read. So you're not writing for traffic. You're writing to communicate, right? So who cares where they read it or learn from it or see it? It doesn't really matter, I guess, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, the side effect is well, the question is, does it matter again? This is like getting back to does it matter? And one thing you could say is it matters because if we keep shifting traffic around, we're never going to build an audience that's stable, which means that, like, I may only have 12,000 followers on Medium, but I've got 100,000 on our blog, and I've got 160,000 on Twitter. Like, should I be looking into building a singular presence that has the most viewership and the most readership, or is it better to just spread the word in different places and collectively have around the same number of people who are interested, but having these people interested in their own place and these other places giving them a chance to share it out? Like, for example, on Tumblr, you can reblog stuff really easily. Like, you can't do that on our blog. And Medium, you can sort of recommend things, which shows up in like a feed somewhere, or tweet it out simply, or select text and tweet it. Like, there's just way more tools. Now, we could build those tools into our own blog platform, but we're not doing it. We haven't had time to, and I don't know when we'll get to it. So can I take advantage of other things that exist? So that's kind of what I'm exploring right now, just to see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm going to lose anything by exploring this at all.
Sure.
So.
Maybe it's a combination of both. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, look at Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, the guy's a master at like using multiple channels to achieve a similar goal, and he's really good. If you look at any of Gary V's stuff, he's really good at promoting those other channels from the other channels. He'll link to his Instagram from Twitter, or from Instagram he points to his Facebook post. Like, he's really good at kind of interweaving them, so letting you know, like, hey, you might have found me on Instagram, but if you so happen to also be a user of Facebook, I'm also there too. That's, I think, something good to keep in mind. Like, keep dropping hints, like, hey, I'm not just on Medium, I'm also over these other places to follow. But yeah, no, I battle with it too. I should definitely be spreading stuff around more, and yeah, you get focused and locked into, I guess, sometimes something that's like comfortable too.
Well, the other thing is you also have to be careful, because you can drown in all of that too. I mean, I found myself hovering from one thing to the other all day long, and I just sometimes wonder if it's even worth it. I mean, I just don't know. I too spend time trying to figure out what the best avenue is, or a combination of. I don't know. Sometimes, and sometimes it surprises me greatly. Like, I'll see activity on something that I didn't think would get it, and some things that I thought would get a lot doesn't get as much as I thought. So I don't know.
Like a platform that I've been ignoring for years is LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just posted a couple articles to LinkedIn, and like I never even thought of LinkedIn as a place to post articles ever. I thought it was like networking and whatever. So we posted a couple articles to LinkedIn, and they got massive take up, and a lot of people were talking about them. And these are people who had not been reading our blog, who didn't even know we had a blog, who may not have even heard of us at all, but they're somewhere else. And so, like, why not speak to them where they are? And I think that the days of having this single place where you post everything and then hope everyone else finds it, I just feel like that's not the way things are going to be anymore. I think the point is you got to write, and you got to put it out in all your channels, and in some cases you have to write different things for different channels. Like, Gary's actually really good at this. Gary uses Twitter a lot for thanking people, and he uses Instagram a lot now, I've noticed, for like talking about are sharing like headline pictures of ideas, and then he's doing videos for deeper dive, and like you got to play to the audience and to the medium. So anyway, I think it's really kind of the more modern approach here, and I'm figuring it out myself.
No, I agree. It's almost like a Halloween bag of candy. You know, you can't have one flavor. You have to, please a lot of different. It's definitely the thing to do.
I'm gonna trick or treat at your house, obviously, because.
Is that where that toilet paper came from last year?
Yes, it did.
That's what I thought.
It was me.
I knew it.
All right, we're out of time. Tomorrow's the last.
Are you
last
kidding?
show with
We're out of
Carlos.
time? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 3:30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
Well.
is a good one, though.
Yeah, this was a good one. I liked it.
Yeah, this is a good one.
All right, guys. I will stop the broadcast, and we will see you all tomorrow at 3 o'clock again.
Awesome.
Later.
Adios.
Out.
Bye.